Sir. Okay, very good morning. Okay, I'm sorry for my delayed response today, and it was heavy rainfall. That's why your classes have your orientation session had started some 15 minutes late. Okay, so Sumaya, sorry. Do you have any question in general first, or should I start with the orientation? Okay, first thing is कि how to choose an option and why to choose an option. ठीक है. Now, if you are going to talk about your syllabus, you also know that GS, which consists of approximately 1000 of the marks, consists of 4 papers. I'm not including the essay part. That is a different aspect. ठीक है. Then there is an optional paper which is of 500 marks. So generally, what is the expectation of the students to achieve? Generally, they are focusing more and more on an GS paper, right? So what is the average marks which a student gets in GS? Can you tell me? Anyone? So you think that a student in GS is going to score 600 out of 1000? Right? No, this is very wrong notion. The average marks in GSC, when we used to have our attempt, we only had a 4 attempt, and during our times, the GS paper consisted of the 2 papers, which are in total of 600 marks, right? My last attempt was in 2010. So if you are saying that it is the score, average one, it is a very wrong notion. First, you must get clear for it, okay? The average marks in GS out of some 1000 is around 280 to 300. And this is the reality. If you are going to score some 400 marks, right, in GS paper, then your rank will be in some top 10. So this is the average score. And remember, during our times also, this was the average score. But what is the average score in optional? So this becomes approximately, if I'm going to talk about the average one, it is only up to some 30%, right? So this is the optional which is going, the GS is only going to decide your rank. It is not going to decide your selection. Still, your selection is being decided by your optional. For example, at present time we have 500 marks of an optional, first thing. So with all your capabilities, you can easily score up to 330 marks in an optional. And 330 out of 500, it is roughly near about some 65%, near some 60%, 55% and more than that. Even if you are going to score some 300 out of 500, it is your 60% of the marks. So you can easily compare कि optional is still your strength in preparing for UPSC. It is not the GS which decide your selection. GS is only going to determine your rank. Okay, I'm not counting the marks of the essay, but if you are going to get this number, and it is easily achievable in GS in optional part. You choose any option, you choose geography, PSIR, or you choose history. This is the threshold which you must have. First thing is this. So still remember, choosing an optional is the first thing in UPSC. Most of the students focus on GS, कि नहीं GS पढ़ते हैं, we have to study more and more, focus more and more on GS. It is not required. And in fact, if you are going to go for a GS, there are many subsections. For example, if you take history, then there is an art and culture, there is ancient, medieval, modern and contemporary world history. So it consists of 5 subsections. You cannot have command on each and every part. But in optional, you can easily command each and every part. Second thing is the answer writing. Okay? If you are going to discuss about the answer writing, there are on average basis 19 questions are being asked in UPSC optional. In paper 1 also, in paper 2 also. ठीक है. So how much time do you have to write down an answer? If you are going to have some 19 question and you only have some 3 hours of time, right? So if you are going to calculate on an average basis, you only have some 9 minutes to write down an answer. Okay? Now, if you are going to go for this 9 minutes, at least 2 minutes are being devoted for framing down the answer and for understanding the question also. And then only 7 minutes are there to write down the answer. With your best practices, you can achieve up to 25 to 30 words per minute. Because it is not the class in which we are going to dictate and you have to write it down, right? You have to frame down the answer. You have to understand the question also. So the average words in each and every question which has to be written down on an average basis is some 150 to 200 words only. So your answer writing skill is now more prominent. Generally, we have one tendency, because since most of the students who are doing the graduation, they have a tendency to write down a very long answer. It is not required in UPSC. So always remember one thing, ki if there is 1 marks, it simply means 10 words in UPSC. So first is, why to choose an optional? Okay? Your understanding must be there with that subject. Now, most of us goes for a very wrong notion that if let us suppose ki I am studying political science and international relation in my graduation, so I must take political science also. So it is not required in UPSC. First thing, never have such sort of affiliation to any subject which you have done in your graduation. Most of us, we all did the same thing. For example, I am going to give you mine one. I am graduate in physics. So I opted for physics in my first attempt. But obviously it was not up to the marks. So in my first attempt, I was not even able to clear the prelims. But since it was in my graduation, so I thought I would be able to do it. Then I opted for geography as an option. So remember that you must not have any sort of affiliation towards any of these subjects. Why to choose an optional is, first thing, your interest must be there in that. If any one of you is not interested in that subject, the subject interest means if you are going to study at some 1 a.m. in the night, you must be able to understand that concept. So these 3 things are required. First, choose a correct optional. Second, never have an affiliation, strong motivation towards any of the subject, because you may opt for any of the subjects in UPSC. If you are interested in Malayalam literature, you take the Malayalam literature. We had a topper from Malayalam literature in, I think, 2016 or 17 also. So that interest must be developed. Third thing, your answer writing skill. Now, coming to geography, if I am going to talk about geography optional, first thing, that its potential is in marks fetching. If you are going to compare till 2015, which the data is being published by the UPSC itself, approximately 5.6% to 7.5% of the final selection is with the geography. And it has been consistent since 2012. And this is the year when we have a change in the syllabus. But consistently, in UPSC, geography has given this much of result each and every year. And this is an average basis. It may increase, it may decrease. Second thing is, geography is a diverse subject, right? It basically bridges the gap between the physical one, that is based on the science, and then the human aspect. So if you are going to talk about the geography as an optional, it consists of 2 papers. Obviously, sabka hota hai. So paper 1 had 10 sections. And paper 2 again, Indian geography, 10 section. In this 10 section, the most prominent one is your geomorphology, right? This is the key aspect of geography, in which you have to study about the landform development, the endogenetic, the exogenetic forces, applied geomorphology, tectonic plate movement, seafloor spreading, why the things are there. For example, Himalaya is the loftiest mountain in the world. Okay? But why it is the loftiest one? So this section is basically science-based one. Now, science does not mean you have to study about the graduation level of physics. The science requirement in geography is only limited to standard 9th and 10th NCERT level science. For example, we have to study about the pressure, we have to study about the temperature. The second section, which is the prominent one, is climatology, right? So again, you have to study about the pressure, temperature, humidity, and relative humidity. So these are the basic concept which is being given in standard 9th and 10th. What is the force? It is given in standard 9th. Okay? Then the third section is oceanography. And then fourth and fifth relate to the biogeography. Biogeography, it relates with the section of a soil, right? Your environment. So basically this section is completely going to overlap with the scientific approach. If I am going to compare the second section, that is section B of a geography, then it starts with the perspective in human geography. Where you have to study about population. Now see, this is the aspect of human geography, right? Population, you have to study about the settlement, you have to study about the theories, models in geography. Then you have to study about the urbanization. So see, geography, it bridges the gap between the physical sciences and the humanity. So this is embedded in your paper 1. Paper 2 again consists of all these topics related to the Indian section. For example, if you are going to study population of the world, then you have to study about the population of India. If you have to study about the agriculture in the world, then you have to study about the agriculture in India also. So second paper is basically overlapping with your first paper. While writing and framing down the answers of the second paper, that is Indian geography, we always take a reference from the paper 1. Okay? So this is second thing about the geography, because it is completely overlapping. Third thing is there is more and more focus on the aspects of human and economic geography now. So this section is gaining more and more prominence. We had one theory in GS also, we have one, that is the Malthus population theory. Similarly, that theory is also going to lab with the population in geography optional. And since you know that population of India is now has been crossed some 1.5 billion, though these are the estimate of the United Nations. We had our last census in 2011 itself. After that, no census has been conducted. So the government data is approximately 1.35 billion, but the UN data is 1.5 billion. Now see how these things are related. We have a population and we have surpassed China, right? So if this population is approximately 1.5 billion, then it may relate to food security, right? Now, according to the government data itself, which has been published in some 2021, 83% of the child under 5, they are malnutrition in Bihar. And in overall India, 63% of the child which are below 5 years are malnutrition in India. So this relates to the food security, and then comes the malnutrition. Similarly, a very recent topic which is emerging is the climatic refugees. So again, this population problem is related with the climate refugee. Population is again directly related with the agriculture consumption. So agriculture, coming next, you are from Manipur. So which place in Northeast India you can see the rapid urbanization? Assam, that is Guwahati. Now Guwahati, I have visited many a times. Okay, I visited Shillong Center and the Itanagar one also. But if you are going to look for the Guwahati, it is expanding towards the Shillong road. Why? Again, due to the population pressure. So this leads to urbanization also. Similarly, if you are going to look, with the population, people are migrating towards the resource center. Why people are moving towards Guwahati? Because it provides a better infrastructure, it provides a better medical facilities, it provides a better education facilities. So again, this is related with the section of migration. So always remember that in geography we have interrelatable part. No part is independent. Even if I'm going to see Delhi, why you are in Delhi? Because in Delhi, you know, obviously the opportunities for clearing the civil services is very high as compared to any other places. So you have migrated from there. Again, this migration factor of the population is related to the cultural aspects. We are going to discuss that in class. So see, there is one simple topic, population, and it overlaps with the several aspects. So this is the bridging the gap between the physical and the human, and at the same time, the geography has more and more relevance in the contemporary section. Now we have the issues of the environment, we have the issues of the sustainable development and so on. So these questions are gaining more and more prominence, and more focus in India is towards the human geography aspect. This is the third part. Now the fourth part is availability of resources. As you asked me, ki, sir, I need a book list. See, we are going to provide the notes and you are going to have your class notes also, right? That will be enough, but few of the basic books are required which you must have, right? We are starting the batch on 15th of July. So prior to that, we are going to provide a book list. See, if you are going to talk about the geomorphology, I have many sources. I read NCERT, I read G.C. Leong, I read Savinder Singh, then I read Geography Made Easy by Rupa Publication, then Majid Hussain. So such a Strahler. So I study 4 to 5 books. But I don't think you are required to go for studying all those 5 books, because it will be complete wastage of time. And time is the main factor in UPSC. So never do that. What is my suggestion? I will provide you the basic book. Okay? The name and the list of the basic of the books. And there is availability of abundance of the resources. So choosing a geography as an optional is a one big thing. Are you from the science background or the humanity background? Humanity background. So I told you ki one part, that is your first geomorphology, climatology, oceanography, where we have to study about the pressure, temperature. It relates to the science. Okay? But science means standard 9-10 science. For example, you are going to utilize few of the terms such as what is Newton's law of motion. So obviously this Newton's law of motion you have studied in standard 9th. And I'm hopeful that if you are preparing for UPSC, you must be very aware of those Newton's law of motion. Right. So it is not required that you have to study the science up to that level. But when it comes to the humanity section, obviously people who are from the students who are from the humanities background, they are going to feel much more comfortable here. And obviously the students from the science background, they are going to feel much comfortable in the paper 1, that is geomorphology, climatology. But it does not mean that it is not suitable to that humanity or the science. It does not have a preference to any specific community or sort of a educational background. It can easily be understood. As I told you, if it is a Newton's law of motion, obviously you must be aware of that. So this is the thing which the geography has. Now, if you have any more questions. Okay, so you have a geography background. Okay, that's good. See, this is one of the basic myth which is being given to the students, or students think about it. Ki geography has a very long syllabus, right? See, the length of a syllabus does not matter. I told you. Okay. If I'm going to look for the shortest of the syllabus, then it is the mathly literature. It is also being asked in the UPSC. Okay. So if I'm going to look for the syllabus, most of the students think sociology, PSIR, they have the short syllabus. So it is not the length of the syllabus. I told you, it is first your interest. If you are interested in geography, then take geography as an optional. Now I have already given you a glimpse that it has a current orientation. Okay. Almost 60% of the syllabus in the geography GS is going to overlap with the geography optional. The main difference is between the theories. As I have told you about the Malthus theory, and there are many, Karl Marx theory, Karen Saunders theory, and so on. Von Thunen, Weber's industrial model, आपने इन सब के बारे में सुना होगा, right? So the difference is of theory. Second thing, in geography, there is one again myth that you have to mug up more and more facts. Okay? So it is not required. The things which are quite relevant is to be known. The next part in geography comes to map. So obviously again in our course structure we have to extensively cover the map of the world, at the same time map of the India. Now if I am going to compare it again, in our times, map of the world has been asked, right? But after 2010, it has been eliminated. So now you do not. Initially, they used to ask few of the factual things, and then we have to write down certain words. So this is now you're out of syllabus, but Indian map is asked. But still, until unless you do not know the world map, you cannot cover the entire syllabus of the geography. Now, there is another aspect of the application. I'm not going to go in the geography optional detail. Let's give me an example of a GS from itself, right? A question had been asked in 2017 or 18. I do not remember the exact. Why there are presence of numerous islands in the Pacific Ocean? So what are the reasons? So the reason is that you have to apply all the factors. Firstly, there are coral islands. Then there is volcanic islands. Again, volcanic islands are related to the concept of theory of plate tectonic. And similarly, there are detached islands. That means the rising of the sea level has detached the several part of the section of the islands near Sumatra and Java. So again, this had the four concepts. So to understand and to write down and frame down that question, you have to study the world map. It is required. Until unless you don't know where the Pacific Ocean is, how can you frame down this answer? But I have told you about the few of the islands' name. Now, there is again one myth ki, sir, we have to remember the island's name. No. But few of the prominent names when you are going to go through the maps is to be required. For example, alone 66,000 of the island are in Indonesian archipelago. So do you think that all the 66,000 names has to be remembered? It is not required. Now, recently there was a news related with the Iceland. It is a very prominent country and it is drifting apart. It is an island country. So obviously, if it is in current news, then only that fact has to be understood, but your application part must be also be there, the theoretical aspect. So do not have any thinking ki we have to mug up all the facts, we have to go for it. Once a question has been asked, how the orientation of the mountain, that means the direction of the mountain, has an impact on a climate. Now you have to study about the mountain in geomorphology, and the question related with the climate. We all know the Himalayas are lying from east to west in the northern part of India. Now let us suppose if there would not have been any Himalaya, what would have been the weather condition in North India? The simple thing is that Siberian cold wind could have come to the northern plains and it would have been a desert. So this is the application part. Now for this, you need the understanding of the world map and the Indian map, which we are going to again cover it in extensive manner. Similarly, a new topic which is again gaining prominent is environment. So this is again gaining. So again we have a climate change. Now climate change is a very simple aspect. But see, if there is climate change, then it relates with the decline in agriculture. So again this topic is related with the agriculture. With the climate change, people are migrating. Recently we had a forest fire in Uttarakhand, we had a forest fire in California, and there is a frequent news of forest fire in Australia. So it is related with the forest fire, and again it is related with the migration. Migration is a general phenomenon, okay, and it is mostly seen in male. So female are left behind. So this concept again related with the female issues. And if people are going to migrate, again they are going to migrate where? To the resource center, as we have given the example of Guwahati. So this is related with the urbanization again. So this is the overlapping thing. And in totality, you have to understand in geography. It is not only key you have to mug up the facts. Right? Any more questions? If you have, go on. Okay, so first thing is, see, there is always a potential. You can score in geography. Second thing is, it is interdependable part. You cannot in segregation study the geography. Third is, for choosing an option, you must have an interest in that also. Next part is, in geography, it is more and more now moving towards the basic focus is now moving towards the human and economic geography. Next is Indian geography. Again, it is gaining aspect in the relation with the human and economic geography. Next is, do not think you have to mug up the facts. Isko dimag mein kabhi mat lao. You have to understand it. Next is application part. More and more questions are now being applied only. It is not very straightforward question which you are going to write it down. So these are the different thing. If you want the name of the books, obviously we are going to provide it, and I'm going to give a list on 15th of July when we are going to start it. Okay? Any more questions? Okay, fine. So we are going to start on 15th of July, 11:30, right, AM. So on that day, we are in detail going to discuss each and every more aspects. At this place only, obviously. Okay? Okay, thank you.